Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 2 of season 1 of the Orville, Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek sort of spoof comedy-esque series, very much a mesh of drama and comedy and everything like that. And I gotta say, if you saw my video, my first impressions of the first episode, my review discussion video, thoughts about that first episode, I said, basically I felt like the first episode was all over the place as far as that mixture, that cocktail of comedy and drama and everything, and a lot of the comedy fell flat for me. Now, the really interesting thing in contrast to that is I enjoyed the hell out of this episode a lot more. And even the contemporary humor, it was fewer and farther between than the first episode and much more palatable for some reason to me. Bearing in mind this is all subjective. Anytime we watch entertainment, it's subjective. It's down to your own personal tastes. And I was actually pretty invested in this episode, pretty riveted by it. Putting someone who is lower on the chain of command in the absence of the captain and the first officer, in the case of the character Alara Katan, I found that to be very compelling, and the idea of the sort of caged and menagerie, going back to Star Trek and everything, and aspects of that harkening back to the classic Doctor Who story, Carnival of Monsters, Third Doctor era, and, aspects of kind of hailing from Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 6, the Admiralty has told us, we're not allowed to proceed. They're not giving us permission. We're going to go anyway. We're going to go and try to save our people anyway, that kind of thing. And all of those jokes, all of those aspects of that, more contemporary humor, I had a large amount of issues that I took with in the first episode. From Kermit the Frog at the beginning, which I thought subsequently was going to be the end joke, like she gave, this race of beings who wanted to encapsulate all these different other species inside their zoo. I thought that was what the end game joke was going to be, that, she gave over the captain's legit Kermit. Didn't expect it to be reality TV, but Jesus, if that wasn't the truth, a lot of people in the masses really seem to get off on watching reality TV, which goes right over my head. Like stuff like that, the Dora the Explorer remarks, I kind of, like sneered at when I heard that reference, but at the same time, they followed it up, and I actually chuckled a little more with, this Dora has balls, they're good balls, whatever like that. I actually found that funny, and although, again, if you put yourself in the mind of when this is supposed to take place in the history of humanity in the far-flung future, hundreds of years from now, how the hell would they know who the hell Dora the Explorer is, I'm only vaguely familiar with the reference, the name. I know it's a thing out there. I've never really seen much more than commercials for it, have no interest in it, and I'm living in the day and time that thing exists, let alone the far-flung future. It's kind of like you really, I guess you have to suspend disbelief to a point with a show like this as far as those contemporary things go. One of my, sort of detractors for me personally from the first episode was something you always get strongly in Star Trek type of shows. The scientists and the medical personnel always come to the fore. And in the first episode, I had said one of my issues was that I didn't really feel like the doctor lady stood out. And it was quite the reverse in this episode. I really loved that sort of, rapport that was going on there, that between Alara Katan and the doctor. She was going to the doctor seeking advice, seeking support, but she wasn't handing her answers and telling her what to do, making her decisions for her. And there was very much a mentorish element to it that I really liked. It developed those characters that much more to me. Similarly, I talked about one of the things I was holding over from after watching the first episode was would they delve into the species that the character Bortus is, how that works, where all of his species is male, and here we find he laid an egg, and I was half expecting a fart passing gas reference, passing reference. Thankfully, no. They followed that through to fruition. They built upon that promise, and he actually birthed a child. And I thought the blanket he was sitting on was the egg. For some reason, I'm like, how did he get that out of him? Because he's sitting on this thing, and you see this giant thing underneath him. I thought that, for some reason, was supposed to be representative of whatever an egg is to that species. But no, it was a little egg, and then at the end, I'm already feeling the allegorical playing on the whole topic of abortion coming because the baby's female. And that should be, for all intents and purposes, impossible. I can only imagine in a race of all males, there's probably going to be the knee-jerk reaction is, well, we can't let that thing survive. It goes against our very grain, our very fiber, the fiber of our species, it would be unacceptable. And so, and I'm not disparaging that idea. I would actually be quite compelled because it would follow up on a promise Seth MacFarlane had talked about in interviews going into, before the series aired. That they would very much like to, as coinciding with the comedy and the drama and the action-adventure stuff, the sci-fi fantasy, they would very much like to touch upon real-world issues and effects, allegorically though it may be, much as what our beloved Star Trek did and has always done. That would actually excite me quite a lot, if they delved into a story like that. So, I mean, whereas the first episode was maybe a C- to me, if we're going to go by, grading, where I liked a lot of aspects of it, but there was a lot that I found wanting, this episode gets a B+. If not an A, I might just shoot it up there to an A because I don't feel like any of the issues I had with the first episode took precedence in this episode. I was quite compelled by it. Once again, the rapport, the chemistry between MacFarlane and Adrian Palicki was on point. The chemistry, the rapport between, the green pseudo-commander for this episode, Alara, and the Doctor were very, intriguing to me and investing to me. I liked that the helmsman guy, he she banishes him from the bridge. Takes him off duty, but then it's his, let me speak freely for a moment here. You suck. For following orders, you suck. The captain would have come after you. I mean, it's something. If you watch Star Trek, if you watch these kinds of shows, this is a trope that crops up again and again and again. But because of the nature of the beast that is the Orville as a show, as a concept, and then putting that concept into action, there's enough room there for reinvigorating that idea. And so the whole episode was highly enjoyable, highly engaging to me, and a big time, three steps up the staircase improvement over the first episode. And that's why I am here now talking about it with you guys, because I was left excited and really wanting to discuss it, that I thought it was such a vast improvement over the first episode. And so I can only hope that quality, that level of quality, continues with the subsequent episodes as they air. And I'm still debating as to whether or not I'm going to come on every episode, after every episode, and want to discuss it or not. We'll see, time permitting. I cover a lot of anime stuff as well, so we'll just have to see. But at least for now, first 2 episodes in. First episode had a lot of great aspects to it, but it was faltering in a lot of aspects. Second episode nailed it. Entertaining as hell. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of the Orville, if you've seen it as well, if you enjoyed it like I did, if you took issue with any of the comedy or any other aspects to do with it, if you thought it was overly cliched, because these are recognizable tropes we've seen before and such like that. Anything goes in the comments below, as long as we have a great conversation. Our POVs can certainly disagree. It's all about the topic of talk. So, yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this with this video. Mind you well. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.